In the world of Mirim, where ancient martial arts and demonic cults dominate, Chun Hajin, known as the Assassin King, strives for freedom from the righteous Heavenly Alliance. Betrayed and hunted by his former comrades, Hajin battles relentlessly against pursuers, only to be killed by the secret demon queen. Yet, fate grants him another chance at life. Reborn as Seoryan, the third young lord of the feared heavenly demon divine cult, Hajin navigates this new existence, filled with power struggles and dangerous enemies. Determined to reclaim his strength and freedom, Hajin utilizes his past life's knowledge and skills, confronting old foes and new threats alike. With his resolve unbroken, he embarks on a journey to achieve true liberation. In a world where betrayal and loyalty blur and the line between life and death is perilously thin. In the middle of nowhere, an assassin is seen slashing through and cutting down the pursuers that relentlessly come after him. Despite their combined strength, they appear to stand no chance against this assassin of the righteous Heavenly Alliance named Chun Hajin. When another group of pursuers arrives, they mock him, suggesting he is overconfident after killing only a few of them. Hajin turns towards them and kills every single one of them instantly. He has killed so many that it becomes difficult for him to keep track of their numbers. He grips his blade with both hands and cuts down whoever comes after him. For some reason, all of them have only one goal, which is to kill him. But this phenomenon isn't unique to Hajin. It applies to all assassins who are finally ready to taste freedom after decades of service under their organization. Legend has it, the final name on the assassin's list is always their own. With determination burning in his eyes, Hajin presses forward toward the freedom he has longed for. He slashes through the chasers swiftly, cutting them down like a flash of light. Surrounded by pursuers attacking in unison, Hajin leaps among their blades, disrupting their formation completely. As he ascends into the air, the pursuers are stunned to realize they are confronting none other than one of the world's top 10 strongest martial artists and the greatest assassin known, a figure renowned worldwide as the King of Assassins. Exhausted from the impact of his landing, Hajin's force still manages to claim the lives of many pursuers. As he catches his breath, thinking he has finally overcome their numbers, a fresh wave emerges. Sweat beads on Hajin's face, the relentless pursuit showing no signs of abating. His blade, dulled from relentless use, prompts him to wonder if the organization he devoted his life to present his quest for freedom this vehemently. Eyes ablaze with determination, Hajin views the pursuers not as adversaries, but as obstacles obstructing his path to freedom. He vows to eliminate them all. Though hailed as the King of Assassins, he feels more like a mere hunting hound for the leader of an organization known as the Righteous Heavenly Alliance, a leader he now sees as nothing more than a soulless, murderous demon. Night descends, and amidst the presumed silence of having vanquished all assailants, Hajin struggles to stand, limping toward his envisioned freedom. Reflecting on his unwavering obedience to orders, he realizes he never prioritized his own life. He ponders whether he will be cursed for eternity, even in the afterlife. His existence seems alive yet saturated with death. Walking with a halting gait, he retrieves the dagger embedded in his abdomen, collapsing to his knees in agony, blood spewing from his lips. A life lived akin to a mere dog's flashes before him, but now, liberation beckons. With a fierce resolve to survive, he wipes the blood away and rises, leaning on his sword as a crutch. Aware of a nearby location abundant with elixirs and healing herbs, Hajin pushes himself to persevere a little longer. However, hunger overtakes him, and he collapses. For 7 consecutive days, he has sustained himself solely on a meager supply of beef jerky. The gnawing emptiness in his stomach intensifies, and he yearns for steaming dumplings fresh from the oven. Just as he nears his breaking point, another powerful assassin launches a surprise attack against Hajin. Reacting swiftly, Hajin jumps up and assumes his defensive stance. He marvels at the opponent's incredibly skillful stealth techniques, which even a world-renowned assassin like himself failed to detect. Evading the attacks and carefully studying the techniques and abilities of his adversary, Hajin becomes convinced that this opponent is indeed the Death Lord, renowned as the strongest assassin of the southern Central Plains. Contemplating his circumstances, Hajin understands why his organization pursues him. However, he is perplexed as to why the elites of the Steel Blood Fortress and an assassin of the Death Lord's caliber are also hunting him. Addressing the Death Lord, he questions whether defeating one of the top 10 strongest martial artists, while exhausted and drained of stamina, would truly earn him recognition in the Mirim world. Hajin threatens the Death Lord, vowing to slice him into pieces, even in his exhausted state. Enraged, the Death Lord his grim visage hidden behind the mask, leaps into the air for an aerial assault. However, Hajin employs a technique far superior, rendering the Death Lord completely immobilized and possibly lifeless. Breathing a sigh of relief, Hajin senses another presence nearby. He calls out, inviting the person to reveal themselves if they finished enjoying the spectacle. As she calmly steps forward, Hajin is taken aback at the sight of her. None other than the secret demon queen herself, a figure he had hoped not to encounter at such a precarious moment. The scene shifts to the battlefield, where the first elder of the righteous Heavenly Alliance, Zheng Ilriyang, appears accompanied by his bodyguards. One of his organization's assassins reports to him that most of the corpses in the area belong to martial masters from the Steel Blood Fortress. Impressed, First Elder Zheng remarks that Hajin truly lives up to his title as the Assassin King, having effortlessly evaded the inescapable net formation deployed for him. As he raises his hand, all his assassins bow before him. Zheng orders them to trace the death energy of the secret demon queen, confident they will find Chun Hajin there. Meanwhile, Chun Hajin is utterly bewildered at the sight of the secret demon queen, Kwak Sokyo. It has been 6 years since their last encounter. Despite her youthful and fragile appearance, she is in truth a devilish monster of 60 years, sustaining her Barbie-like appearance through a secret rejuvenation technique. Rumor has it that she cannot go a single night without taking a life. Sweat continues to trickle down Hajin's face, caught off guard by the organization's extreme measures to send a ruthless murderer like Kwak Sokyo after him. Gathering his resolve, he acknowledges he still has a trick up his sleeve. Drawing his sword, he faces Kwak Sokyo, who remarks disapprovingly that he resorts to a sword, despite their supposed special relationship. Hajin shouts back that their relationship means nothing to him, and demands she cease her nonsensical talk. The Demon Queen suggests Hajin consider an easier resolution, asserting he seems incapable of surviving even a few strikes in his current condition. Undeterred, Hajin, despite his weakened state, challenges her to see how long he can endure, scoffing at her age, calling her a 60-year-old grandma without fear. The secret Demon Queen's anger flares, warning Hajin sharply not to call her that again, under threat of severing his spine regardless of his pleas. Undeterred, Hajin taunts her again about her sensitivity to age, referring to her as a grandma once more. Enraged but composed, the Demon Queen shifts tactics and presents Hajin with a proposition. She reveals she was dispatched by the Steel Blood Fortress because his core energy harbors remarkably pure and righteous energies, unmistakably belonging to one of the Great Nine sects. She expresses admiration for how he managed to eliminate all the pursuers, hinting at his hidden prowess. Hajin questions her motives, asking if she intends to uncover the hidden martial prowess of the Nine sects and confidential information about the righteous Heavenly Alliance. He suggests that even if she were to discover these secrets, it seems she has no intention of sharing them with the Steel Blood Fortress. The secret Demon Queen feigns surprise and mocks Hajin, remarking that she had always regarded him as a simple assassin, but it appears he possesses some intelligence after all. She gets straight to the point, stating that she cares little for the Steel Blood Fortress requests or the secrets of the righteous Heavenly Alliance. Her sole desire is the martial prowess of the Nine sects, and if Hajin divulges this information, she promises to spare his life. The secret Demon Queen asks Hajin if her offer seems agreeable to him, but Hajin hesitates. He expresses his surprise at the extent of disloyalty among those in the highest positions and argues that it's not a fair trade, especially considering he could be dead at any moment. The Demon Queen then questions if Hajin's condition is due to the blood parasite that is causing his deterioration. The blood parasite is a unique tool employed by the righteous Heavenly Alliance to punish traitors. The moment someone decides to betray them, the blood parasite enacts swift judgment upon them. The Demon Queen informs Hajin that he can never truly escape the grasp of the righteous Heavenly Alliance. However, if he agrees to her terms, she promises to remove the blood parasite. Having studied the demonic arts of death, she claims she can effortlessly neutralize any toxin or poison. The secret Demon Queen continues to press Hajin to teach her the martial prowess of the Nine sects in exchange for his freedom. In response, Hajin mocks her, questioning if she believes the Alliance is chasing him simply because he ran from them. He asserts his status as one of the top 10 martial artists and reveals that he expelled the blood parasite from his body 5 years ago. He adds that he continued training because he understood he needed to attain a higher level to penetrate the inescapable net formation, believing he had achieved it. Though he now questions this, Hajin insists the Demon Queen stop speaking nonsense, having already lost 30 years of his life to the Alliance and refusing to be deceived again. Hajin becomes enraged and threatens the Demon Queen to run while she still can. In response, the Demon Queen grows out her nails in anger, declaring that she has never spared anyone who insulted her and demands Hajin's final decision on whether he will teach her martial prowess or not. Well, if it was marital prowess she was talking about, I bet he would have offered to teach her that. With his last reserves of strength, Hajin charges his sword, preparing to strike. The Demon Queen reveals her grotesque true form and meets his attack head-on. Their clash produces a massive explosion, engulfing the field in smoke. When the smoke disperses, the Demon Queen emerges injured, but manages to evade Hajin's strike. To add to his injury, the First Elder of the Alliance dashes in and slashes off the Assassin King's legs. Seizing the opportunity, the Demon Queen ruthlessly cuts off his arms, leaving the once formidable Hajin limbless, a tragic end for someone who sought nothing but a peaceful life. As Hajin collapses to the ground, blood gushes from his mouth. The Demon Queen, unsatisfied, grimaces and cruelly plucks out his eyes. With this final act of brutality, the once proud assassin's dreams are shattered. As he takes his last breath, the image of the moon appears before him, almost dreamlike. His final thoughts yearn for the simple life he never had, a fleeting wish for one more chance to live as an ordinary man. The scene shifts to the main sanctuary of the heavenly demon divine cult, where the King of Assassins awakens. Oblivious to what transpired, his longing for another life still echoing in his mind. He finds himself reincarnated as none other than the third young lord of the divine cult in the same world. The doctor attending to him visits the inner sanctuary of the heavenly demon divine cult and pays his respects to the fourth young lord. It becomes apparent that he works under the fourth young lord's orders, with the intention of assassinating the third young lord, Xioryan. He informs the fourth young lord that he is confident Xioryan will die by nightfall. The fourth young lord expresses gratitude for the doctor's efforts and dismisses him, remarking that things are proceeding even better than he had anticipated. The scene shifts to Hajin's pass, where he and his friend have just completed their mission of eliminating several targets. As they sit down to rest, Hajin remarks that they cannot linger, as their leader has emphasized the importance of avoiding detection at all costs. His friend then produces something, prompting Hajin to inquire about its nature. Hajin's friend shows him a carved bird. Hajin asks if he carved it himself, but his friend sidesteps the question, and instead asks Hajin if he isn't tired of living as an assassin. He expresses his determination to escape, using any means necessary to live as freely as a bird. His friend dreams of retreating to rural regions where he can breathe in fresh greenery instead of the oppressive scent of blood. Hajin implores his friend to take him along, expressing his own desire to leave the place. However, his friend repeatedly refuses, warning him not to entertain thoughts of escape. Suddenly, his friend spits out blood and collapses, dead. Before Hajin, a member of the righteous Heavenly Alliance appears with others, chastising him for considering betrayal, despite saving their lives. He warns Hajin to remember that the moment one entertains thoughts of betrayal, the blood parasite will exact swift punishment for their disloyalty. The scene shifts back to Hajin in his new body, awakening with memories of the Demon Queen killing him. Unsure if it was real or a dream, he looks around, disoriented, unable to recognize his surroundings. The room appears luxurious to him, and he senses someone approaching. An attendant girl enters the food for the third young lord and notices his absence from the bed. In an instant, Hajin materializes behind the girl, holding a stick to her neck and threatening her. He demands to know her identity and whether she belongs to the Steelblood Fortress. Trembling with fear, the girl manages to stammer that she is his servant, Anghua. She nervously asks why he is acting so strangely and if something is troubling him. Confused, Hajin questions why Anghua is addressing him as young lord and asks who brought him to this place. Anghua, visibly shaken, explains that he has been unconscious for the past 6 months after falling victim to chi blockage. He only regained consciousness 2 nights ago from his coma. Hajin dismisses Anghua's explanation as a fabricated tale and continues to interrogate her until he catches sight of a mirror. Startled by his reflection, he recoils, questioning if he has been reincarnated. Glancing out the door, he marvels at how such a place could exist within the Murim. Spotting 2 individuals approaching, he demands to know who they are. The taller man, identified as Mudam, the first royal guard of the heavenly demon divine cult, bows respectfully and greets Hajin, proclaiming that all demons kneel before him. He congratulates Hajin on his recovery and on being reincarnated as the third young lord. Hajin grows even more bewildered, as nothing seems familiar to him. Shock sets in as he realizes he is in the midst of the demon cult. The scene shifts as the first royal guard, Mudam, enters the Demon King's castle. The Demon Lord sits upon his throne, regal and composed. Mudam bows respectfully and pays his respects. The Demon Lord calmly inquires about the purpose of his visit. Mudam responds that he has an important matter to report. As the Demon King grants him permission to speak, Mudam informs him that the third young lord has awakened, but due to overextension, he has lost all of his martial prowess. He asks the Demon King for instructions on what to do with the third young lord. The Demon King exhales a puff of smoke from his cigarette, emitting an immense aura that suppresses everything around him. The first royal guard, Mudam, respectfully asks the Demon Lord to state his will. The Demon Lord, containing his anger, instructs Mudam not to bring any further reports until the closing ceremony in 3 months. Mudam bows his head deeply and sincerely wishes the Demon Lord success in his endeavor. The Heavenly Demon Divine Cult is renowned as the strongest faction in the Murim world, established thousands of years ago by a legendary Murim master. It is seen as the symbol of chaos, instilling fear and anxiety in everyone. Despite being outnumbered by the righteous Heavenly Alliance and Steel Blood Fortress, these 3 groups, along with the Heavenly Demon, form the ultimate triad. Nevertheless, the Heavenly Demon Cult is consistently regarded as a greater threat than pandemics and wars, seen as the most malevolent demonic group. Hajin, now in the body of Seoryang, is peeking through a door, pondering how he is awakened in the third young lord's body and whether he has actually obtained a second life. However, he feels displeased and shouts inwardly that it should not have been the demon cult. To be fair, the righteous Heavenly Alliance wasn't all so great either. They did try to kill him. Immediately, he regains his composure, staying calm and focused on his mission. As he sneaks past a window, memories of the previous night flash through his mind when he was stealthily moving around in the moonlight. The protagonist remembers hiding atop a roof, dressed like a ninja to conceal his identity, using stealth techniques to move undetected. Despite his efforts, his emaciated body struggles with the strain. He overhears 2 men walking below, discussing how the third young lord has awakened. One of the men mentions that another deadly hierarchy feud is expected to start among the 7 demon cult disciples, but his partner cautions him against getting too involved, warning that it could lead to execution. As Hajin peers over the slanted roof, he overhears the men discussing the rumor that Seoryang has lost all his martial prowess due to 6 months of complete chi blockage. The stealthy young lord jumps down and hides behind a corner, startling an orange cat beside him. He continues to tail the 2 men, who remark that if the third young lord still possesses his martial prowess, he truly lives up to his nickname, Monstrous Demon. Hajin then leaps onto another roof with the cat now following and joining his stealth mission. One of the men advises his companion that with the third young lord awake again, he will exploit everyone around him and drain them completely. Consequently, they decide to avoid provoking the lord and keep their distance from his abode. Hajin feels a surge of surprise and sweats at the realization that Seoryang is truly despicable, having led such a monstrous life. Shifting back to the present, a picturesque scene of the third young lord's abode unfolds. The dignified, long-haired man gazes at the stunning view from his room. Hajin notes his own weakness after using his stealth technique with this body for an entire hour. Bro was built differently in his past life, now he's just a toothpick. Despite the complaining, he is quite satisfied with still being alive. As he gazes at his emaciated reflection in the mirror, he feels pity for the way his body now appears, as frail as that of a grandfather. Determined to restore it to its former strength, he examines his hand with its sunken skin and minimal mass, his resolve solidifying. He sits down cross-legged on the floor, preparing to meditate with focused intent. With his eyes closed in a deep concentration, he envisions the extraordinary 8 meridians within him. Quickly discerning that they are in disarray, he decides to expel the red swirling ball of chi from the core of his body, identifying it as a rotting Dan Jian. As he begins to chant a technique, the air around him vibrates and shifts, causing his hair to rise. As the power of the technique takes hold, chi begins circulating in the room, with red and white streaks of energy swirling around, intensifying the heat and making the air even more humid than before. The once tainted Dan Jian is now clear and pure, as Hajin uses the boundless technique to expel the remaining clouded energy between his hands. As Hajin focuses on his plan to expel the energy, the entire room is bathed in a blue hue. Chi circulates around him, enveloping his body in a majestic blue aura that lifts his long hair into the air, He recalls his past life, a time when he was gravely injured, clutching a bloody sword. In that critical moment, he used the boundless technique, a fusion of the martial prowess of the nine sects, to miraculously recover, like a lifeline drawn from the depths of his strength. Now using the technique in his current body, he ceases meditating after expelling the chaotic meridian energy. Slowly opening his eyes, which accentuate his dignified and feminine yet handsome face, he breathes a sigh of relief. He leans against the wall, staring at the ceiling, pondering if this is all the body is capable of, while still feeling satisfied at having achieved something. In the silence, he gazes outside, finding it odd that no one except the doctor has visited him since he woke up. He recalls how the doctor is always bowed in respect, and how the young girl who brings his medicine stutters with fear when she approaches him. Hajin feels a pang of annoyance at the kind of bad history Xiao Yang has left behind. Well, rumors have it that he's not someone you want to cross. As a glimpse of the territory he now calls home was shown, Hajin contemplates getting a better understanding of the place before rushing into interactions he might mess up. Thus, 3 months pass, and the moon shines upon another starry sky. A hand rests a Kisuru pipe in a saucer next to a tea set. A grave voice mentions that the third young lord has consumed something, presumably poison, for 3 months and wonders why nothing has occurred. The bearded servant responds that Hajin has been recovering at an accelerated rate. The dignified voice angrily reminds the servant of his promise that the stronger the host's martial prowess, the more fatal the poison would be. The servant, sweating, responds hesitantly that his master is correct, but something strange is happening. The mysterious master with the Kisuru pipe exhales slowly as Xiao Yang's name escapes his lips softly. The way he just said that should make anyone feel downright uncomfortable. The man, who commends Xiao Yang for exceeding expectations, is revealed to be the fourth young lord, Hong Yu Moon, of the heavenly demon divine cult. The servant requests his master to choose their next move. Yu Moon turns to ask the servant in white robes when Rin is expected, who promptly responds that Rin should arrive at the main temple by noon the next day. With a serious face and piercing eyes, Yu Moon asks his servant if it has been 6 months since Rin last returned and receives an affirmative response. Thus, Yu Moon concludes their midnight meeting by ordering his servant to continue observation. The next day dawns with fresh sunlight illuminating the new home of our protagonist. Powerful punches tear through the air, and chops create sonic booms as Hajin practices alone in the morning. His previously emaciated body now looks slightly toned from his efforts. Once again, he throws a punch and then readies himself by taking a peculiar stance, planting his feet with such force that the ground cracks beneath him. His eyes turn white as he materializes a green orb of chi with swirling air currents in his right hand. With a powerful thrust, his right hand rips through the air in a straight path, causing an extremely loud sound to echo throughout the building. Hajin, covered in sweat from the intense training, gazes at his right fist, marveling at the impressive technique he executed. The technique was powerful enough to destroy the wall several meters ahead, with just the bursts of air from his fist. Satisfied with his progress, Hajin reflects on the strenuous training in the past 3 months, which has been crucial in recovering his new body. His efforts have paid off, with his body now looking much more youthful and muscular than before. The cloudy and demonic energies that once plagued him have been removed. The shy girl tasked with bringing his medicine approaches him from behind. Hajin thanks her and washes down the bowl of medicine in one go. Considering how nasty it looks, can you blame him? This time, Hajin choked on the medicine, looking down to find a vermilion centipede-like insect in it, a creature he is all too familiar with. The bowl slips from his grasp, shattering on the ground and spilling the medicine across the floor. In shock, Hajin hears a familiar voice shout his full name. Before him, a phantom of his leader from the righteous Heavenly Alliance materializes, declaring that Hajin can never truly escape the Alliance, and accusing him of being impudent for betraying the one who trained him to be the greatest assassin. As immense pressure surrounds him, Hajin frightfully recognizes the root cause of these visions within his body, a blood parasite. Cold sweat pours down Hajin's face as he screams in pain until the voice of his shy attendant brings him back to reality. His eyes open wide in confusion as he looks at the girl, who returns his gaze with her own confusion. Realizing he was merely hallucinating, he looked into the bowl. Anhua respectfully bows and announces her leave. Left alone, Hajin wonders if the second life he has gained will truly be as free as he has dreamed, while staring blankly at the moon through a window. A new day begins. Dressed in his black robes, Hajin hears a voice asking Anhua stationed outside his room, whether he is inside or not. Anghua hesitantly affirms, making Hajin annoyed at the eager intruder. His attendant repeats her duty, to announce to the young lord before anyone can enter, but the pompous voice shouts the order to move aside. The sound of a slap is heard, which catches Hajin's eye, who is now at full alert. The sliding door swishes open rapidly as a beautiful girl with purple hair and suggestive makeup greets Hajin like an old acquaintance, while his attendant holds her red swollen cheek. Hajin glances at Anghua holding her right tender cheek, making him wonder just who this pompous girl could be, aside from a rude and barbaric tramp. The purple-haired girl, adorned with bright red lipstick and elegant makeup, casts a judgmental glance at the semi-naked Hajin. She walks past him, casually remarking that he seems to be recovering better than she anticipated. Hajin feels confused and uncertain about how to navigate this unexpected encounter. With egotistical flair, the girl orders Anghua to prepare tea instead of idling around. Meanwhile, Hajin concocts a quick plan. To make a swift exit, he dashes off, declaring that he has urgent matters to attend to, much to the annoyance of the third young lord's companion. With a snap of her slender fingers, two towering bodyguards materialize in Hajin's path, effectively blocking his exit. They stand silently, obedient to the girl's command. She informs Hajin that she intends to have a lengthy discussion with him and directs her guards to ensure no interruptions. As the bodyguards depart and close the door behind them, Hajin remains puzzled, staring at the closed door. The girl, exuding an air of confidence, sits down with crossed legs and remarks to Hajin that they have much to discuss. Hajin, still with his back turned to her, focuses intently on the door. To her surprise, Hajin calmly responds that he hasn't yet wiped off the sweat from his training and asks her to wait until he changes. The girl agrees with him, wearing a mischievous smile, and warns him not to have any hidden plans. Hajin thinks to himself that the girl is clearly not an ordinary person. As a drop of sweat rolls down his cheek, he steels his resolve to follow the only available choice. He summons Anghua, his attendant, to follow him to another room. In a separate room filled with antique wooden furniture and various trinkets, Anghua is surprised by her master's question about the purple-haired person. Hajin innocently uses his chi blockage as an excuse for losing his memories, causing Anghua to tear up and requests the third young lord not to die. This makes him wonder why she thinks he would pass away so soon after finally waking up from a coma. Obviously, because she's crazy. Hajin's servant explains that the young lady, Hong Yorain, is a demon affiliated with the cult's internal enlightenment facility. She belongs to the Jiyaxa family of the demon cult and is known to be so strong that she has been titled the top talented disciple. Even the demon cult's chief has acknowledged her as a heroine. Anghua then confirms Hajin's question by stating that she is Hong Iyumun's, the fourth young lord's, younger sister. Hajin, feeling annoyed, asks about his relationship with her, but his attendant shyly admits that she does not know much except that the two meet frequently each month, even at night, making Hajin realize the nature of his relationship with Yorain. As the master and servant stand face to face alone in the room, he expresses gratitude for the information she shared and asks Anghua if her face is alright, advising her to rest as it looks swollen and painful. Anghua is at a loss for words at Hajin's empathy, feeling terrified that he has changed drastically, unlike the normal Si or Yan who used to mistreat her. With his hands tied behind his back, Hajin closes the door and returns to Yurin, apologizing for his earlier rudeness. Yurin is surprised by his apology, not thinking much of it. With an innocent expression, he casually asks her why she has come, prompting her to scrutinize his changed demeanor. She contrasts Hajin's subdued attitude with the passionate Si or Yang she once knew, noting that since the chi blockage, he seems to have lost the fiery passion in his eyes, along with his martial prowess. Seated in her chair, she decides to be straightforward and states that there should be no secrets between them. Confident in her knowledge, she stops beating around the bush. With a malicious look, she brings up two contracts, reminding him of their agreement. She places the two slips of paper on the table and informs him that if either party breaches the contract, they agree to a triple penalty. She then discloses that she has invested 1,000 niyang in a miracle drug and additional expenses, totaling just over 2,000 niyang. She mentions offering him a slight discount due to their relationship. During her explanation, Hajin picks up the contract, pondering the wonder drug Yorain mentioned. Hajin begins reading through the contract, baffled by the revelation that he was sponsored by the fourth young lord's little sister. His frustration grows as he considers Sierra Young's seemingly foolish decisions. Interrupting his examination, Yurin declares that he must either pay her 6,000 Niang immediately or sign a contract agreeing to pay her later. Hajin realizes that she exploited Sierra Young's chi blockage to secure the contract and extract money from him. With an apathetic stare, Hajin thinks about the plan he had to improve his reputation and accumulate wealth to advance his goals. Now not possible thanks to this nuisance. He lifts his piercing gaze to meet Yiorain's eyes, reflecting on her disregard for his 6 months of bedridden state and her involvement in activities unbecoming of someone her age. To Yiorain's surprise, Hajin casually agrees to pay the agreed amount. Hajin summons Anghua and instructs her to fetch writing materials. Placing a sheet of paper before him, he begins to casually draft the contract, intending to sever ties with the demon cult. Meanwhile, Yiorain, seated opposite him, watches with a mix of pompous observation and troubled concern. She thinks Hajin is foolish for proceeding without argument, but finds it audacious nonetheless. Deciding to exploit the situation further, Yiorain arrogantly asks him to add an additional clause. She commands him to write that if he fails to pay the debt, he must obediently respond to her every call, like a loyal enslaved dog. Hajin maintains a cool exterior while seething with internal frustration. As he gazes down at the contract before him, Hajin is annoyed that Yiorain sees fit to treat him like a pet. He asks her if she is satisfied with the terms, to which she stands up confidently, asserting that the contract will only be terminated once the debt is settled. With a smug expression on her makeup-heavy face, Yiorain suggests that they should both maintain a degree of respect for each other during their contract, emphasizing their temporary equality. Hajin, annoyed by her audacity to talk about respect after proposing such a demeaning contract, interrupts her with his candid thoughts on her disrespectful terms. Yiorain is taken aback by Hajin's unexpected reaction, who then calls for Anghua. Hajin directs Anghua to summon the commander of the royal guards. Yiorain's face flushes with confusion and concern, as she fears Hajin's sudden decision to involve the commander directly. Promptly, the commander appears outside the room and respectfully greets Hajin, inquiring about the reason for his summons. Hajin, holding the contract firmly, instructs the commander to prepare a carriage immediately, as he urgently needs to depart for the Demon Lord's castle. The commander, concerned about Hajin's physical condition, advises against traveling in his current state. However, Hajin asserts confidently that he intends to visit the Demon Lord without delay. Hajin commands the commander to deliver the message that he, the disciple, seeks an audience with his master, the Demon Lord, shocking Yiorain with the abrupt turn of events. In the calm moonlit night, chaos ensues as the commander assures Hajin that he will arrange for a carriage once he secures permission. Yiorain anxiously questions what Hajin intends to achieve, to which he confidently asserts his right to challenge her and take the matter to court, leaving it to the Demon Lord to judge the fairness of her distasteful contract. Paralyzed with concern, she asks Hajin if he plans to drag her down with him and presses him about his intentions in meeting the Demon Lord. Maintaining a self-assured demeanor, Hajin wonders aloud why Yiorain is so rattled. She shouts in fear that even the third young lord won't escape punishment if the Demon Lord discovers their contract. Hajin remains nonchalant, acknowledging that he may face reprimand or even exile now that he's lost his martial prowess and is therefore of little use. Hajin pauses, contemplating the potential consequences for Yiorain and her influential family if he is exiled. He speculates that her family's reputation could be irreparably damaged for failing to raise a respectable daughter, all due to this single contract. Yiorain's face drains of color as she grasps the severity of the situation, pleading with Hajin to wait as he declares his intention to go for a walk. She questions whether he no longer desires to pursue the position of supreme leader with the aid of the wonder drug. Turning to face her, Hajin dismisses her question as absurd. With a freshly signed contract in hand, he taunts Yiorain for daring to confront him despite having known of his current condition, bidding her farewell until they meet again at the Demon Lord's palace. Trembling, Yiorain asks Hajin what she should do next, prompting him to mock her by demanding further explanation and keeping his back turned to her. Our guy is doing good work by bringing down the hammer of justice on this annoying little gold digger. Yiorain hesitantly starts to speak again, her voice wavering as she seeks a way out of the predicament. Hajin turns his cold eyes towards her, his demeanor stern and resolute. With an infuriatingly flustered expression, Yiorain swallows her pride and asks what she must do to prevent the third young lord from taking her contract to the Demon Lord. Hajin confronts her directly, thrusting the humiliating contract in her face and demanding that she tear it apart with her own hands. As Yi-Orien reluctantly tears the contract apart, scenes from Hajin's past life with the Heavenly Righteous Alliance unfold. His desire to break free from there has been evident from the very beginning, and the words of his deceased friend echo in his mind. Nonetheless, he must obey the Alliance's orders and eliminate everyone guilty of treason. He instructs his men to search the nearby population, suspecting someone might be in hiding. In the hand of a fallen traitor, Hajin discovers a carved bird identical to the one his friend once showed him. Suddenly, a comrade from the Alliance appears, killing all the nearby guards. The man fights his way through, only to find his friends reduced to lifeless bodies. He cries out in madness and sorrow over his loss. Hajin feels pity for the unfortunate man, reflecting that he was merely performing his duty to eliminate those who betrayed the Alliance, unaware of their identities. Because this man has also betrayed his faction, the blood parasite ends his life as well. In his final moments, he questions Hajin, asking if killing and committing murder daily is just a job for him. He further questions Hajin's understanding of life. As he is about to take his last breath, he grasps Hajin's collar and declares that he will curse him even from the afterlife. The scene transitions to the future. 3 months have passed, and the first royal guard, Mudam, is on his way to see his Royal Highness. The Demon Lord has accomplished the great feat he had mentioned and is getting his hair cut. As he finishes dressing and steps out, the first royal guard bows and congratulates him on his achievement. Mudam informs the Demon Lord that his third disciple wishes to have an audience with him. He also mentions that a carriage has been sent to the disciple's residence and that he will soon arrive at the palace. While sipping a beverage, the Demon Lord instructs the first royal guard to escort the third young lord to the demonic judgment pavilion instead of the palace. Mudam is taken aback, but he knows he must follow the Demon King's orders without question. As the first royal guard departs, the Demon King yawns casually. The scene shifts to the mansion of the third young lord. Hajin wonders if it is winter already. The doctor from before visits and checks his pulse. For some reason, Hajin senses a chaotic aura when the doctor feels his pulse. The doctor examines him closely, puzzled by how quickly Hajin has regenerated. Hajin responds with a death stare, prompting the doctor to apologize and explain that he was simply shocked by Hajin's remarkable regenerative abilities. While plotting something sinister, the doctor informs Hajin that acupuncture is no longer needed and that he will instead switch him to the supreme healing potion. In a polite tone, Hajin expresses curiosity about this supreme healing potion, noting that he has never heard of it before. With a touch of disdain, the doctor explains that it is made from very fine herbs that enhance regenerative capabilities and are reserved for the highest-ranking members of the main sanctuary. Hajin remains skeptical, suspecting that if the medicine truly had such properties, he would have recovered much faster. The doctor then takes his leave, promising to return in 2 days. Hajin wonders if he is merely overthinking or if there is something wrong with his senses. As the doctor departs, he yawns and appears anxious, anticipating his upcoming audience with the Demon Lord. Like him, everyone is curious about the Heavenly Demon Lord, who might be the strongest person under the sky. Despite never revealing his full powers, the world still fears his true potential. With no information about the demon cult, Hajin realizes that meeting the Demon Lord could be dangerous and wonders if he should have been more cautious. He reflects that his behavior towards Yi-Orien might have been rude, but he couldn't bear the thought of being reborn to live again as someone's dog. While pondering Yi-Orien's contract, his servant Onghua informs him that a carriage has been prepared for his visit to the Demon Lord's palace. With his request for an audience granted, he confidently decides to go. He might have rushed into things, but he opens the door, ready to face the consequences. Upon arriving at the Judgment Pavilion, Hajin is informed that the Demon Lord has summoned him there, and he must proceed with the guide. As Hajin steps out of the carriage, he notices a massive staircase that he will have to climb. He is clueless about what this Judgment Pavilion is and why it is situated so high up in the mountains. Meanwhile, the Demon King savors his beverage, finding its taste sweeter than ever. Hajin ascends the staircase and sees numerous high-level masters surrounding the area, their formation reminiscent of the inescapable array of the righteous Heavenly Alliance. It feels to him as if he's entered a dragon's lair or a lion's den, where a single mistake could spell his doom. Upon reaching the top of the stairs, Hajin encounters a gate leading to the pavilion, but he is surprised because it looks nothing like what he expected. When the guard opens the gate, Hajin gathers himself, resolving to appear composed and knowledgeable rather than startled. He understands the importance of caution, knowing that every move could determine his future in the demon cult. Stepping into the demonic pavilion, he is astonished by what he sees inside. Despite it being winter outside, he witnesses a scene of spring, with a deer peacefully drinking from a lake. He rubs his eyes in disbelief, questioning whether he might be dreaming, and concludes that this must be nothing more than an illusionary formation, as nothing else could explain the unusual weather inside. He discovers the place to be exactly like the one he had once dreamed of settling in. As he touches the beautiful flowers on a tree, he marvels at the realism of the illusionary technique. Suddenly, a pavilion materializes a short distance away, startling him. Inside stands a distinguished man, leaving Hajin curious about his identity. His feet seem to move of their own accord, as though under a spell. With each step, the grass beneath one foot flourishes, while that under the other withers away. Meanwhile, the Demon King enjoys the spectacle, savoring his drink. He finds the pavilion conjured by his third disciple quite intriguing, marveling at how Hajin's steps symbolize life and then death. As he approaches the pavilion, Hajin senses immense danger emanating from within. As the former assassin king, he trusts his instincts implicitly. He tightens his fist, realizing there's no turning back now. If he desires to break free from the demon cult and live life on his own terms, he must confront the demon lord. Anxiety mounts as he prepares to meet the person who bears the title of the ninth heavenly demon lord, Li Qinseng. Meanwhile, the demon lord relaxes in his seat, casually observing the approach of the third young lord. Outside, the first royal guard, Mudam, reaches the entrance of the demonic pavilion and discovers that Hajin has already entered. Feeling his anxiety, the guide beside him offers an apology and asks if something is troubling him. Mudam explains that under Li Qiansong's rule, only 2 outsiders have been summoned to the demonic judgment pavilion. The first instance occurred approximately 25 years ago, when the demon lord accepted his first disciple. Curious, the guide asks if he is referring to the first young lord. Mudam clarifies that it was actually 5 years before the first young lord became a disciple. The unknown disciple met a gruesome fate on that day in the demonic judgment pavilion with his skin torn to shreds, as if savaged by wild animals. The guide becomes frightened and asks if the demon lord himself killed the unknown disciple. Mudam reassures him that if that were true, the demon lord wouldn't have brought him here in the first place. Curious now about the second person to enter the demonic judgment pavilion, the guide questions Mudam further. Mudam explains that it was the general strategist who was the second person ever invited to this place. The general strategist holds absolute authority over all matters, regardless of their scale. He is unique in demonic history, for ascending through intelligence rather than martial prowess. Before the guide can inquire further, Mudam reveals that the general strategist returned in peace, holding his head high. Today marks the 3rd time the current demon lord, Li Qiansong, has opened the gates of the judgment pavilion. All they can do now is wonder whether the 3rd young lord will return alive or not. The scene shifts to Hajin, standing before the demon lord with sweat trickling down his face. He nervously utters the same words he heard the first royal guard used to greet the demon lord. The demon lord instructs Hajin to rise. As Hajin stands before him, he sees Li Qiansong seated majestically. Hajin notices a distinct and awe-inspiring presence about him, despite not sensing any chi energy emanating from the demon lord. Li Qiansong exudes an aura of immense dignity, as though he has no rivals, and is the most powerful martial artist in the world. Although half immortal, the demon lord chooses not to rule with tyranny. Hajin is taken aback by the overwhelming presence of the demon king and slaps his own face to regain composure, feeling as though his pride as the world's top martial artist has suddenly evaporated. Meanwhile, the demon lord, ever interested in drinks, pours some and offers it to Hajin. Hajin accepts gratefully, praising its fragrance and remarking that it has been a long time since he tasted something so refreshing. As the demon lord asks for his reason for seeking an audience, Hajin clears his throat and considers whether relationships between masters and disciples are typically distant in the demon cult. Noticing the demon lord's directness, Hajin gathers his courage and states that he has a request. Li Qiansong encourages him to proceed. Hajin places the bowl on the table with humility, feeling his words falter and a sweet bead on his forehead. Summoning his resolve, he asks tentatively if it is permissible for him to leave the cult. Immediately after speaking, he becomes nervous, fearing he has made a mistake. Perhaps he should have requested a temporary leave or simply some time for reflection. Sitting comfortably on his divine bench, the demon lord asks calmly if Hajin wishes to leave the cult, requesting Hajin to pour some drink into his bowl. Hajin wonders if his straightforwardness has made an impact and promptly complies. He is intrigued by the inscrutable expression on the Demon Lord's face. As Hajin pours the drink, the Demon Lord remarks that he is being vague and asks if Hajin intends to leave temporarily or permanently. Hajin is taken back. The Demon Lord further questions whether Hajin no longer wishes to be his disciple or if he has given up due to exhaustion of chi energy. With a direct gaze, the Demon Lord expresses disappointment, stating that if this is the limit of Hajin's abilities, he is a letdown. Hajin realizes he has made a significant mistake. He tries to clarify, explaining to the Demon Lord that he has no intention of severing ties, but merely desires some fresh air to aid in his recovery, as regaining his martial prowess has proven more challenging than expected. Hesitantly, Hajin admits that this was his reason for coming. The Demon Lord's demeanor shifts slightly, and he slams his bowl on the table, questioning if Hajin has approached him solely for permission to go outside. Feeling ashamed and finding his reason to meet the esteemed ruler absurd, Hajin bows his head, searching for an excuse, with the Demon Lord awaiting his response impatiently. Hajin hastily tries to appease him. He adopts a saddened expression and explains that he simply wanted to see the Demon Lord after a long absence. Hajin notices that the Demon Lord's reaction isn't as severe as he feared, so he continues speaking, trying to appeal sentimentally. He mentions that there are certain duties he feels obligated to fulfill as a disciple. The Demon Lord responds by crushing his bowl into dust and asks Hajin about these duties. Feeling uncertain, Hajin apologizes, admitting that he may not fully comprehend these duties. As the Demon Lord rises to his feet, Hajin is struck by how tall he appears. Just how many pull-ups and stretches did this Demon Lord do daily to achieve this incredible figure? With a piercing gaze and a weighty tone, the Demon Lord tells Hajin that if he truly understood the duties of a disciple, he would not have approached him in his current state. He questions whether Hajin has misjudged him all along. Hajin becomes nervous, wondering if the Demon Lord has realized that it's not Si or Yang but himself inhabiting this body. It feels as if the Demon Lord is peering directly into his soul. He struggles to think of a plausible excuse, but to his surprise, the Demon Lord turns away and walks in the opposite direction. Hajin breathes a sigh of relief, realizing he hasn't been caught. Hajin reflects on the situation, questioning whether it's his own behavior that seems strange or if it's the peculiar demeanor of the Demon Lord. The Demon Lord, with a dark aura emanating from his hands, abruptly instructs Hajin to depart and be prepared in 3 days' time. Confused, Hajin realizes the Demon Lord didn't directly answer his request regarding permission to leave. As Hajin takes his leave, the Demon Lord admires the pavilion arranged by Hajin, appreciating it as something he hasn't seen in quite some time. After Hajin departs, the Demon Lord returns to his castle and pours a drink for the First Royal Guard, who gratefully accepts it as a token of appreciation. Is there a story behind the Demon Lord's drinking habits? The Demon Lord asks Mudam about his third disciple. Mudam informs him that the third young lord has been recuperating at his residence. The Demon Lord strokes his snake and remarks to Mudam that something seems different about him. Initially, when he accepted him, the Demon Lord had been disappointed, viewing him merely as a venomous snake. This had been the reason for inviting him to the demonic pavilion. However, upon seeing him again after all this time, the Demon Lord notices that his third disciple now appears to possess a magic pearl in his mouth, and moreover, seems to comprehend the concept of death. Essentially, the demonic pavilion is a structure crafted by the Demon Lord for the purpose of judging evil. The individual to be judged is presented before the Demon Lord, and their fate is determined by the pavilion's formation. The demonic pavilion is a divine place that reflects the heart and subconscious state of those who enter it. Depending on the Demon Lord's judgment, if the person being assessed is deemed unfavorable, the pavilion's demonic formation will attack them. Should they attempt to retaliate or harbor ill intentions toward the Demon Lord, they will meet a grim fate. This formation has the ability to discern a person's true essence, representing the highest level of formation achievable solely by the Demon Lord. Turning his attention to other matters, the Demon Lord asks the First Royal Guard about the solitary bamboo grove. The guard reports that personnel from the Court of Elders have been assigned to maintain it every other day. He further informs the Demon Lord that an average of 5 incidents are reported per month, though fortunately, there have been no fatalities in quite some time. The Demon Lord's decision pleases him, and he commands the First Royal Guard to recall the personnel from the Court of Elders and send the third young lord to the solitary bamboo grove. The first royal guard is taken aback by this order, sensing the danger of the place, but he cannot refuse a directive from the demon lord himself. Quickly arranging a carriage, the first royal guard ensures that the third young lord is escorted to the solitary bamboo grove. Upon arrival, Hajin is dismayed to find the area teeming with various animals, angry and feeling betrayed by the demon lord for sending him to such a remote and unpleasant location. Hajin vents his frustration. He had requested some time outside, only to end up in this desolate and seemingly repulsive place. Hajin's shout, filled with crass remarks and curse words aimed at the demon lord, echoes through the dark forest for miles. In his frustration, he throws a tantrum, expressing anger at the demon lord for thinking he can get fresh air in this solitary bamboo grove. A man with a menacing voice, standing silently like a ninja behind him, warns him against uttering such blasphemous words. Amidst Hajin's confusion, the tall man clarifies that a death sentence awaits those who dare to curse or criticize the demon lord. With a straight face, he emphasizes that not even young lords and ladies are safe. Hajin, with an equally straight face, ironically remarks that he harbors no malice towards the demon lord with his words. Almost comically, the man makes a complete 180, apologizing for daring to accuse Hajin of such a grave crime, while Hajin pouts at the restriction on saying bad things about the demon lord. The crazy demon cultists treat the demon lord with even greater reverence than the emperor, and Hajin looks at the deadpan serious face of the cultist from the court. Hajin then asks if the man belongs to the court elders, which he vehemently affirms, immediately performing the perfect bow of respect. He brings his giant hands together, flexes his rock-hard biceps, and steadies his footing, just before the straw-haired man introduces himself as Ma Dongpil, third-in-line leader of the cult's court elders, and expresses his pleasure at serving as Hajin's guard. The man's wacky attitude and loyalty make Hajin simply want to get rid of him, like the extra clingy ex that doesn't know how to move on. The man then opens his eyes and with a fiery expression, swears an oath to protect the third young lord with his life, making Hajin feel uncomfortable at his unneeded dedication. The next day dawns with a beautiful morning sun, lighting up the serene and calming bamboo forest. Hajin sits on a rock under a tree, completely burnt out and at a loss, since he realizes there is no escape from this forsaken place. His eyes are red with bags underneath, the result of a night spent planning an escape with no success. He looks to the sky with tears in his eyes, having no inkling of how to leave the forest. In his frustration, he resorts to banging his head against a bamboo tree, cursing the stupid demon lord and his cultists for making his plan to get easily exiled such a pain. Amidst this, he realizes he should not waste any more time and needs to remind himself why he wanted to leave the cult. Although he has a terrible hunch about being reborn in the demon cult, he is unable to leave at the moment. Until that moment arrives, he must live and thrive as the third young lord, Seoryan. To do this, he needs to become powerful, considering that the survival of the fittest is the motto of the heavenly demon divine cult, far more than all other factions in Murim. He understands that he cannot wait for the cult to exile him, out of shame. Instead, he must use martial arts to grow strong and gain influence, so that one day he may lead by his own will. As Hajin clenches his fists with newfound resolve, his thoughts are interrupted by the voice of the stalker like Dongpil, who freaks Hajin out by sneaking out from behind a bamboo tree. When Hajin complains to him about disturbing his master, the man responds out of worry for Hajin's health, noting that he has not eaten or drunk anything for 2 days. Hajin is shocked, not realizing how fast time has flown, and tells his new servant not to be so uptight all the time. Ironically, the man responds with an uptight bow. He's a lost cause, Hajin. Just give up. On his third day in the bamboo forest, Hajin sits atop a rock once again, utilizing his boundless technique to improve his body and soul. He is surprised to notice something awry with the circulation of qi. His body's cultivation level is at the 3rd stage of power, which is midway through the 5 stages of power, according to the boundless technique. Hajin reflects on how in his previous life as the Assassin King, he could only reach the maximum of the 4th stage. He comes to a shocking revelation, wondering if the weakened body of Seoryan, being at the peak of the 3rd stage, might mean that this young demon lord is actually a hidden genius. To add to his power, Seoryan's qi purification technique has been active all this time by itself, cleansing and absorbing the aberrant qi from the air around him, making him stronger. Further, the absorption of energy from the clean air further bolsters his internal power, creating a cycle of almost endless growth. Using this broken chest of a body, Hajin focuses his mind, causing a large tornado of chi to surround him. The accumulating chi shoots out into the sky, like a beacon in the expanse of the bamboo forest, signifying his advancement to the fourth stage of power. On the fifth day of confinement, Hajin rejoices that he has fully recovered the body back to its former glory. The chi circulation in his body has become so impeccable that his internal condition is now even healthier than his previously healthy young body. Even his hair has turned dark, as the light color was due to chi blockage. His experience has been delightful, thanks to Don Pil's excellent services as an outstanding cook. Don Pil even made a bed of bamboo wood for his master. Hajin then tests out the assassin abilities from his previous life, aptly named Hypersensation and Omniscient Sight. These abilities heighten his senses and allow him to sense each and every being in his surroundings. However, while appreciating his newly restored glory, he is caught off guard by the legendary stealth skills of Don Pil, who reminds him of his mealtime, while casually asserting the dominance of his stealth skills over Hajin's detection skills. As the sun sets, Don Pil warns him that monsters come out at night, so they should return. So the two start walking back. However, a rustling in the dark forest catches the astute Don Pil's eyes, who wonders if it is a ghost, and ignores it almost, as if foreshadowing something that will soon appear again. The scene opens with Hajin taking a deep breath as he unleashes the powers he unlocked in his new body. Using recovery of his boundless technique, he takes off into the sky, as if flying through the trees, affirming his hunch that another of his techniques that made him the legendary Assassin King, Dark Shadow Chi, has returned. But as he is enjoying the skill, he realizes that it would be suspicious if the heavenly demon divine cult finds the third young lord using Dark Shadow Chi. As he sits upon a bent bamboo tree rocking up and down, he wonders what demonic technique Si or Yang had originally been cultivating and is suddenly launched from the bamboo tree. As he is lost deep in thought, he returns to his residence and calls out to Don Pil, causing the blonde man to land in front of him almost instantly at a breakneck speed, scaring the lights out of Hajin. While wondering why the man has left in his man bun, Hajin humbly asks Don Pil whether he or other young lords have ever mastered a non-demonic technique. After an awkward pause, Don Pil respectfully answers that he cannot comprehend the question. Hajin repeats his question, this time asking about the consequences of learning a non-demonic technique. Don Pil scratches his cheek, not having the slightest idea, but says with a grave expression that the demon lord would be greatly upset. Understanding the meaning behind Don Pil's serious tone, Hajin, with a cheeky smile on his face, tasks him by the authority of the third young lord to bring any secret books that revolve around demonic arts. Mad Don Pil returns to his master and relays the third young lord's request for secret books, which makes the man wonder why the third young lord would need the texts when he probably knows them by heart already. As his master theorizes the reason behind this request, Don Pil respectfully interrupts with a plea, asking if it is true that the chi blockage caused memory loss in the third young lord. The master then recalls that perhaps Si or Yang truly did lose his memories, since he used to be an absolute demon without a shred of empathy or care for his underlings. Yet his demeanor is now uncharacteristic of him. Even his servant Anghua reported that he is now like a completely different person. What shocked the master more was the fact that the young lord somehow came nonchalantly out of the demonic judgment pavilion, without being killed as expected. Given his corrupt heart, Ma Don Pil's question further proves his theory. So he pardons Don Pil and warns him to keep in mind that he should not question the future demon lord candidate he is serving, and hands him the golden key to the library. The master reminds Don Pil that he has a loan period of 3 days and instructs him to mix the secret text with other books to avoid arousing suspicion. The master then inquires if Don Pil has informed the young lord about the true purpose of the solitary bamboo forest. Don Pil responds that he plans to do so today. Emphasizing the forest's dangers, the master insists that Don Pil inform Hajin as soon as possible, reminding him that it is his duty to serve the young lord to the best of his ability. Really, Don Pil? You had one job. As Don Pil bows and takes his leave, the master ponders over why the demon lord sent Hajin to the infamous bamboo forest. The solitary bamboo forest holds an eerie history, claiming the lives of countless demon cultists since long before the establishment of the heavenly demon divine cult. It serves as a perilous gift, granting power to the worthy and death to those who are not. The master is surprised that the demon lord has sent the third young lord for a second test, after his initial approval in the demonic judgment pavilion. As night falls, Hajin counts the number of texts Don Pil has brought, totaling 17. Surprised, he asks why Don Pil brought so many. The obedient servant explains that he selected the best text from a larger collection, causing Hajin to hesitate at the sheer number of demon arts he must learn. Instead of feeling daunted, he resolves not to treat the demon techniques as inferior, and to uncover their true power. Donpil informs Hajin that 3 books must be returned every 3 days, as they are considered national treasures, and access is restricted to only the top 3 young demon lords. Donpil stares silently, pondering that if Hajin truly does not remember the prized techniques of the heavenly demon divine cult, then he must have genuinely lost his memory. Hajin notices his stare and questions him, prompting the blonde servant to vehemently apologize for acting strangely, claiming he was surprised by this unknown side of his lord. However, to confirm his suspicions, Donpil asks Hajin directly whether he does not remember the secret techniques. Hajin looks at him intently, before slamming the book onto the table. He addresses Donpil, stating that he has lost all martial prowess since awakening, and that he is no longer the same. After being exiled in the solitary bamboo forest, Hajin strives to reclaim his lost power. Surveying the stack of clandestine texts, the third young lord implores his servant, wearing a demeanor unsuitable for a proud master, to assist him in relearning the sacred demonic arts. He seeks Donpil's help in various tasks, including fetching weapons for his practice the next day. Moved by these words, Donpil cannot restrain his tears and pledges with unwavering determination to support his master to the utmost. As night falls and the moon illuminates the ground where creatures unsuspectingly roam, Donpil examines the barricade encircling Hajin's dwelling. His gaze shifts to the house, noting the security of its barricade. He sees Hajin fully concentrating on learning the demonic techniques and resolves to keep all potential disturbances away from his master. As he walks away from the barricade, a little critter is seen chipping away at the barricade, while Hajin has fallen asleep during his study session. It is said that Chuan Hajin's Dark Shadow Chi was the most powerful pure technique in the Murim world, although not the strongest among all 10 sects. However, demonic arts are the opposite of pure, prioritizing complete offense and destruction, making them truly belong to assassins. Hajin acknowledges the 10 great demonic arts for their outstanding qualities, but realizes that his body is currently unable to master them. He contemplates how he can improve his Dark Shadow Chi with these techniques when he stumbles upon a perplexing essay on the advanced true demonic art. Finding the book mind-boggling, he decides to close it and step outside to clear his mind with his boundless technique. While doing so, Hajin detects an unusual presence and realizes that he is being observed by Donpil, deciding it is best to remain cautious around the blonde man. Hajin hears movement behind him and, thinking it is Donpil, asks if he is back. However, sensing something amiss, he prepares himself for a large creature rushing toward him at incredible speed. The creature dashes past him, faster than the eye can follow, knocking him down. As Hajin gets up, confused and disoriented, he sees that the 3-headed monster has obliterated the barricade with its powerful tackle. As he inspects the monster, he realizes it is a 3-headed chicken. For all this thing could feed half of Africa. Hajin is astonished that the bamboo forest has what might be the great king of Yan Luo. The clucking behemoth overwhelms him with its speed once again, tearing his clothes and following up with sound techniques without a moment of respite. The scene shifts to Donpil, carrying a backpack full of weapons, hoping that handling them might rekindle some of the third young lord's memories. He silently prays that Hajin does not revert to the demonic tyrant who once abused his servants. However, his attention is quickly drawn away as he senses the scent of blood and sees destruction in the distance, originating from Hajin's resting place. Now returning to Hajin, infuriated by the clucking behemoth's painful and incessantly loud noises, throws a punch only to be countered by the aggravating monster. However, when his next punch lands, a monster pauses its clucking momentarily before retaliating with an eardrum-blasting sound art, sending waves of pain through Hajin. Hajin, wishing for a weapon, spots a bamboo pole from the destroyed barricade lying nearby. With a solid plan in mind, he deftly dodges the giant mutant chicken charging at him. As the creature halts and turns, Hajin leaps and thrusts his makeshift weapon into the behemoth. For a brief moment, Hajin believes he has finally defeated it, but his hope is shattered when a powerful winged strike launches him into the barricade wall. Coughing in pain from the impact, he realizes that physical attacks cannot penetrate the creature's armor like feathers. Our protagonist prepares his assassination technique, wondering how it is his first time using it on an animal. Yeah, right, animal. The chicken monster screeches as it charges towards him. Undeterred, he gathers his focus, preparing to unleash his deadliest technique.